In this video, we're going to be talking about two additional tricks that the SAT and the ACT both use to make the subject-verb agreement questions more complicated for you. And I encourage you to watch video number 1 before you watch this video. And if you watch that, we're all good to go. I'm Kat Severson, the inventor of the Severson method, a scientifically proven way to learn anything fast, including the subject-verb agreement. So as we talked in video number 1, subject-verb agreement questions are very easy. However, the first way for the SAT and the ACT to make them complicated is to insert more fluff between the subject and the verb, making it harder for you to reach your goal, which is finding your subject. But the second way they make it complicated is they actually change the order of the subject and the verb. In 99.9% of the English language sentences, the subject will come before the verb. Katya makes videos on YouTube. She runs half marathons sometimes. But what the SAT is going to do is they're going to choose a sentence, which is a rare occasion, where the author is using inversion, where the verb comes before the subject. A classical example of the inversion would be this. In my house, which is a prepositional phrase, resides a beautiful cat. Resides is the verb. A beautiful cat would be a subject. Resides comes first, and a beautiful cat comes after. Because a beautiful cat is a singular noun, the verb to reside takes the form of that noun. It resides. Now, let me show you a real example from the SAT. Leading the team to determine the capital's boundaries, the verb to be is in question, Mayor Andrew Elliott, a well-known aliens, that's not even important. That part of the sentence is not even important. Notice that the verb to be is coming before the subject, Mayor Andrew Elliott. Mayor Andrew Elliott is a proper noun. We can replace it with he. So he, what's the past tense of the verb to be? He was. If you're unsure about this whole to be verb situation, again, I'll make you a video. I'll link it up here. There's no shame in not knowing this, especially if you're a native English speaker. So interesting that people like myself, non-native English speakers, we get to study this so that we can know and learn how to speak English. And native English speakers, they just begin speaking the language. Therefore, it's a little bit more complicated for them to figure out this whole to be, to have, to do. We'll make a separate video for that. But this is a to be verb in question. So the answer choice is D, because the subject is Mayor Andrew Elliott. Next sentence for you. Again, something that SAT likes to do. This is a metaphor type of a language. Enter committee member John Berland. If we were to use this sentence normally, we would have said, there comes committee member John Berland. But here, they're using the word enter. It's kind of like a theatrical type of a presentation, which makes this sentence an independent clause, which makes it impossible for 19 to be a no change. He is a geotechnical engineer. Therefore, the right answer is D. I know this has very little to do with the subject-verb agreement, but I really wanted to show you that inversion does show up on the SAT and the ACT pretty frequently. One more example for you guys. Pause this video. What did you guys see? There was or there were a number of steps. A lot of my students would get led on by thinking steps, plural. But remember from the first video, we talked about that a word from a prepositional phrase, and of is the most frequent preposition in the English language, a word from a prepositional phrase will never be a subject. So it's not going to be plural, but is it going to be singular? A number, the article a word, a table, a shoe, a number, points to the fact that it's singular. So a number is, therefore there was a number of steps. The right answer was D. Let's go and discuss the third way the SAT and the ACT can make it more complicated, is compound subjects. What is a compound subject? Is when the subject consists of two parts. So Apollo and Aphrodite make YouTube videos. Because Apollo and Aphrodite is two people. How would we replace this subject with a pronoun? We would say they. They make YouTube videos. So let me show you a couple of examples where the SAT and the ACT do that. Pause this video, try to figure it out. Yet for many, a love of animals and a commitment to animal conservation make these sacrifices not just tolerable, but meaningful. Why did I say make? Because the subject is a love and a commitment. The SAT really wants you to think that the subject is conservation, which is singular, and it's singular for a reason. But remember, the rule of thumb, prepositional phrases, to animal conservation. To animal conservation would be a prep phrase, therefore the subject would be a love and a commitment. compound subjects. Whenever you see and, just think to yourself, it's probably a compound subject, and it's probably going to be plural. This one, that one is from the ACT. Pause this video, question number 37. The subject here is compounding and rows and wooden bins were the answer choices. C. Another example from the SAT. What's the subject in this sentence? Here we're dealing with a complex sentence, so we're not going to be looking at the first part. We're going to be looking at the second part, after comma but, comma fanboy, comma but, it's expressiveness and level of detail. What's the subject? Expressiveness and level of detail. Have reflected, we don't have that answer choice, so then we will have to go with just reflected. Reflected Renaissance sensibilities. And this one is a little bit tricky, so I really want you to pause and try to solve this one. Again, you're going to be given the verb, so find a subject. What's the subject? If you said animals and IUCN, I want you to think again. And remember what we talked about, that a part of a prepositional phrase will never be a subject. Of animals classified, that would be your first prepositional phrase. By the ESA and the IUCN, that would be another prepositional phrase, because by is a preposition. The subject here is a comparison, and we can replace comparison with the pronoun it, so it reveals. The answer choice is C. The SAT and the ACT can get so tricky, they even know that you guys are going to be looking for a compound subject, and they're going to put something with and right in front of the verb in question. And this is my last example. For this video, I will also make you problem sets specifically for the SAT and for the ACT. Those videos would look like this. I will give you an example. You'll be able to pause and solve the video for yourself, and then watch my explanation if you wanted to. These videos will have different types of tricks, so they're not going to be trick number 1, trick number 2, trick number 3. Those will be a lot more interesting and complicated. I'll link those right here. And don't forget, every month, every time you comment below the video, we choose one lucky person to get on a free tutoring session with me. And you can see those winners. We post them every month on Instagram. I choose one of my students who is in the office on the first day of the month, and they choose just randomly one person who comments, and then they get the video, they get the session on me for a whole hour. So make sure you leave a comment, give this video a thumbs up, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.